In 3, 2, 1. Well, hello and welcome to the Riser Virtual Cheese Awards 2025, showcasing the very best of British cheeses. My name's Cara and I'm going to be moderating this session this morning. The session that we will be judging is Class F7 Goat's Cheese Soft. I'm joined today by two fabulous judges who know each other quite well, so I'm slightly scared the way that this session might go. But I'm just going to ask them to introduce themselves to you and let you know why we've chosen them to be our amazing judges today. So start with you, Jonathan, please.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Piercy. I have a business called The Crafty Cheese Man. My focus is selling amazing British cheese to the hospitality industry. And I have a background in also making. I actually used to make cheese for butlers, funny enough. And also just judging at numerous different judging awards around the country and just eating loads of cheese, basically.
Yes. And now over back to the wonderful Mr. James Grant.
Hi there, I'm James Grant. So I'm known as Bucks Cheese Guy as well. Have a deli called Number 2 Pound Street and co-founder of the Real Cheese Project. I'm just impressed with your bed there behind you there, Jonathan. I'm glad you made it today. You've got more badges than me as well. I didn't put my badges on. But no, it's really great to be here. I'm super excited to be with the Virtual Cheese Awards, one of the best programs for cheesemakers to be able to learn what we think about their cheeses. And we have so many great cheeses in front of us today. So it's going to be really, really difficult and very challenging. I'm looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys. Let's crack on. For the audience watching, the judges will be using a point system, scoring against 4 different attributes. Firstly, appearance, then aroma, texture, and finally, the most important, flavour. The winning cheese, or maybe even cheeses, will be the most points and will go forward to the category stage finals Tuesday, the 10th of June, which will be coming to you live. So, ready to rock and roll? Off we go with the first cheese, which is F71003. And we'll crack on with how it looks.
Well, I mean, first things first, I do love the beautiful petals on it. I think it's something very different and just gives it some lovely character. What do you think, James?
Yeah, it's incredible. It's beautifully colourful, which makes me think this is going to be kind of a sweet, fresh, lactic goat's cheese, very spring-like in its appearance, isn't it? With all those beautiful petals. It's got a lovely nose as well. I can pick up on the aroma of the petals and also the lactic goat's milk that's coming through as well.
It's got
It's
that really
quite fresh.
yogurty. It's got that yogurty. It's
Yogurt.
almost a bit honey.
Yeah, really, really yogurty. Touch of honey there as well, as you said, and quite floral. What a beautiful looking little cheese. I can get him a knife.
I think that the color on it's just amazing. That you don't see many cheeses with that sort of outer on it, and I think it's nice to see something completely different like that.
It's got a lovely fresh smell on the inside as well. The paste is with a lovely fresh, even more yogurty note, slightly citrusy.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking there's not much. Excuse me. There's not much. There's no breakdown under the rind there. It's very much a fresh lactic goat's cheese, which has just
really
been
got
set
that
over
sort
a
of
few
smooth
days.
paste, doesn't it?
Very smooth, yeah. And if I break it, which would be quite interesting, you can actually break it where the curds have met each other, where as you can see, it breaks quite nicely into the way that it's been formed by the proteins as it's formed back.
It really has got that sweet honey smell to it, which I think is amazing.
It's got a big mouth feel.
Yeah, really
it's
has.
Coating the whole of my mouth. It's quite dense and almost like biting into a New York cheesecake. You know what I mean?
It really is, yeah.
Yeah.
And with that sweetness as well, it definitely got that about it. And I think it's actually denser than I expected it to be. I thought it might be a little bit more open texturally, but actually it's got a lot more, like you say, a lot more density to it, which is actually, I quite like that density.
It's even as a result of that density, it's quite it's super rich. but it's got a bright acidity towards the end that's lifting slightly. But it really is coating my mouth, and it does. It reminds me. I was living in the East End for many years, and there's a Brick Lane bagel shop that does a really great cheesecake, which is really thick.
Oh yeah, amazing. Yeah,
this is it. And I could
it
eat
really
a whole
is.
one of these, and also like the Spanish cheesecakes as well that we have. What are they called?
Basque
Oh,
ones.
burnt Basque.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, it really has got that, like you say, that sort of sweet honey cream cheese element to it. But like you said, it finishes quite nicely with that little bit of lactic citrus element.
yeah.
So
How
although
much
it's
have you
sweet,
eaten so far? How
you
much
were
have you tried?
half of that piece.
Yeah, I've pretty much done a whole piece already. I think we've got to slow down. We got a lot of cheese to eat. But this
No,
is
come on. Part of the fun of it, right?
yeah.
Yeah, just remember, guys, I don't have the cheese in front of me, so stop making me so jealous.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like I've just got to eat more because I know you can't eat it. So I
You
really
need
like it.
Yeah, no, it's good.
That
As a
sweetness is,
note,
I think the
go
sweetness
on.
is balanced really nicely. You know, I feel like you could do something like this and actually make it too sweet, but actually the sweetness is balanced quite nicely, I think.
As an opener, it's quite a shock because the bar's kind of high already, isn't it? With this
Yeah.
section, which I think, looking at what we've got in front of us this morning, it's going to be quite challenging. The only thing
just
for me
jump
with this
straight
cheese,
in and score then, guys. Can we start with
yeah,
appearance?
I think it's. I
I'm,
mean, for me, I'm going to go at least a 9. I think it looks
I,
lovely. I
I,
think a
I'd
little,
have to agree. I was going to say 8 or 9 because I just think it's just a lovely looking cheese. I think
yeah,
Would you improve it, guys?
more covering, a little bit more.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd say a little bit more. Like if you were going to be super critical, a few more petals might just give it a little bit more, but I think that's just picking at really small things.
Are we
Yeah,
going 9 or 9.5?
9.
I think 9, yeah.
Lovely. Aroma?
Um, again,
Jonathan?
I love the smell of the honey element in there. Kind of lends you into the fact that it's going to be a bit sweet. I'd go up there again with an 8 or a 9.
Yeah, let's do 8.5 then, shall we?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Texture?
Sorry,
Texture.
texture. I
I feel
kind
like
of
we're
enjoy
getting too
that.
excited because it's the first cheese, but it was just really good.
Yeah, it's got that big cheesecake note to it. It's quite claggy and big, and yeah,
That's a northern word, James. Claggy.
clagging.
It's a northern word. I like it. Good man.
It's going to be
I am
blowing a hoolie down here soon as well, apparently.
I am rubbing off on you. It's nice.
I hope not.
Well,
Anyway, moving on.
not today.
So,
Go for texture, please, chaps.
Um,
so, so
I, I mean, I think there's an element of it where like I think it could have been improved by being a little bit more open. Although it was very dense, I think a little bit more open might have been a bit easier to eat. So potentially, I don't know, maybe a 7 or 8. What do you think, James? But
a
it was still very
7.5.
good.
Let's go 7.5. I think you're right. It's very dense, very close. I mean, I'd like to see this also being utilized in a dish like a goat's cheese tartlet, perhaps with
Yeah,
caramelized onions. Could be quite exciting.
yeah.
Maybe have the tart, caramelize the onions, and then finish it with the cheese for the last 5-10 minutes. So it browns lightly, so you don't ruin the floral notes on it. But I think that could be good with a drizzle of honey.
Do you
Amazing.
know what else
But
I
yeah,
think would be amazing, which I know sounds really weird, but if you did a pizza and then just put little bits of this around the pizza just to sort of soften slightly on top of a warm pizza, I bet that would be amazing.
Ooh, yum.
yeah,
Yum.
yeah, and maybe some roasted figs with it.
Oof.
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
Hello.
There we go.
Taste,
Hello.
taste.
Taste, please.
I
I'm going to
mean,
go an 8 for me.
I want to. Can we go 8.5? Because I would have said a 9, but just purely because for me, the surprise of how well balanced it was. I think when I realized it was sweet and I got that note of honey on the smell, I was a bit like, oh, but actually the balance was fantastic. So I'm happy to meet in the middle, James, if you are.
I'd love to meet you in the middle there.
Oh, God.
8.5.
Perfect.
Thank you, guys.
Perfect.
Okie dokie. First cheese done. We're going to move on to F71055, please. Jonathan,
I
would you
love the
mind
look at.
holding it up to the screen for us?
I absolutely love the look of this one.
Little pup.
My son this morning said it looks like a piece of charcoal, and then I explained to him why it looks like that, and he was like, "Oh, that's amazing!" Like, and I think it's a lovely
Yeah,
looking cheese,
looks
and I
nice
feel
on
like
the
even from
outside.
you, what? Sorry,
So
no,
I
you
was just
go.
saying when I picked my one up, there was a little bit of slippage with the rind.
Yeah,
It's a
where
little
it's
a
set.
little bit
Yeah,
loose,
yeah, I see what you mean. Actually, yeah.
which as a monger can make it slightly challenging if you're cutting one of these in half. You've got to be very careful how you cut these cheeses. It's very pretty. It reminds me of a puck.
I'm sure Clara just said that.
Did it? Oh, sorry. I wasn't listening, Clara.
Shocker!
Clara,
Oh, James, really?
me.
No way.
Right, so it
On
looks
presentation, it
beautiful.
looks amazing.
But I think, yeah, I mean, you could argue. Some people might say that, you know, it's not the most uniform in its shape, but I quite like
Yeah,
that. I quite
that's
like
kind
that.
of artisan, isn't it? Which we like in a way.
You are sorry?
Definitely. It's very artisan, which we
Yeah,
like.
yeah, and that's the thing. You know, it's not. It didn't look so odd that it's worrying. It's just got a little bit of ununiformity to it, but I quite like that. Like you say, it makes it look handmade and artisan, which I think is a good
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Is there
I'm
any
going to come in.
aroma coming off, guys?
I'm not getting
Not
huge
a lot.
amounts.
But it's kind of more like you know that like London. If you're walking the streets of London, you got those like those big paving slabs in Regent Street, which are London paving slabs, and it's just rained, and you get that fresh smell from the paving slab.
I thought you were
I'm
going to
getting a
start
slight
talking about
London
you
paving slab
sniffing paving
smell.
slabs. I don't.
I often sniff a paving slab.
There's a word for that, and it's just going to drive me nuts. I can't remember. It
I know
begins
what
with
you
a
mean.
P.
I'm not getting huge amounts of
No, that's why
nose
I'm
on it.
choosing London paving slabs because they're a little bit more refined than the northern ones that are really in your face.
Yeah,
Stop,
no,
we're
the
not
northern
going
ones are
there
hardcore, to
today.
be fair, I have to say. Yeah, slightly aggressive paving slabs up here.
Why
It
right?
cuts nicely. Oh, you get a bit more,
Ooh.
you get a little bit more nose on the paste in the middle, actually. Still not loads, but a bit more. Just smells very fresh, really fresh.
Very fresh and lactic on the nose. It's probably about 21 days old.
Looks quite close, and it cut quite closely, I'd say.
Quite goatee on the nose, gently goatee on the nose. I'm going in.
Excellent. What's that texture like?
It feels
Smooth.
it. Oh yeah, good texture that.
It's
How would
good
you
It's actually
describe
texture
it?
with a nice mouth feel. It's not really delivering on flavor for me in the same that I would expect with the other cheese. It's not giving me that richness. It's
I'm
got
getting a bit of chocolate.
yeah, it's a bit white chocolatey, gentle, but not really delivering the sweetness I would expect from such a lactic cheese. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's quite
It finishes quite high on the salt as well.
yeah, and yeah, towards the end I'm getting this kick of salt, which is a shame. It looks incredibly beautiful.
And the
And
texture's very nice. I feel like
yeah,
the texture's slightly more open than the previous one, which is nice.
yeah,
So,
going
guys,
back in.
I'm getting
Going back
texture.
in.
I'm getting a cocoa-y note, and then it just finishes quite high on the salt. But it's not too like not but it is a little bit high on the salt at the end.
It's quite
It's a nice cheese though. It's a
it's
nice
quite
cheese.
earthy as well,
It
Jonathan,
is,
isn't it?
yeah,
Really
definitely.
earthy. And I was expecting a much brighter,
Yeah, more
fresh
summery citrusy.
glass of goat's milk sweetness to this cheese with more
Yeah,
citrus note, and I'm not really getting it. It's yeah, it's quite yeah, it's a nice cheese. The texture is lovely. The look is great, but it's not for me. It's not delivering that from what I'd expect from a fresh lactic goat's cheese with ash on the outside, I would have like this. I would have expected not quite so salty. I would have expected slightly more citrusy, a little bit more pronounced, fresh, milky goat's milk, notes as well. And I'm not really getting that as much as I would love, I'm
No.
afraid.
And I think the flavors, like you say, not what was expected, but it's not bad. It's just, I think, like you say, you look to see more of that lactic element, them citrusy notes, and it's almost a bit savory.
It is savory. It is. It's savory.
So from a visual point of view, hi Sarah.
Hello guys, how you doing?
Yeah, good. You?
Yes, good. Good.
Good morning, Sarah. How are you?
Good morning. How are you feeling, James? Are you any better? With your eye?
My eye's still bloodshot. It looks like somebody punched me, which they did. I'm sure that's what really happened. No, I was fighting. I was fighting my deli counter, the evaporator fan, and I decided to.
It didn't look that bad on camera, to be honest with you, James. You can't really notice it.
No, you can't really see it.
I've had a special touch-up feature on the software here. It said, "Do you want to be touched up?" I said, "I love being touched up."
Oh, gee. Anyway,
Anyway, moving swiftly on, guys. We're going to judge this amazing cheese, and we're going to give it some scores.
Visuals, I would go up. I'd be
9.
around the sort of 7, 8 mark. Are you thinking a 9?
No, I'm thinking 8.5 then.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to go 8.5 because I do love the look of it. We'll go 8.5, yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, aroma.
I mean, I wasn't getting huge amounts, and even when we cut into it, so for me, I would probably be looking around the 6, 7, maybe a 6ish, because there's just what you can smell is nice, but there's just not much of it.
Yeah, let's go with the 6 then, Jonathan.
Okay.
Can I just ask? Can you move your? I can't see your cheese very well, Jonathan. I don't know if it's my camera view. Oh, it's really weird.
It's your camera view, Sarah.
Okay. Sorry, just checking. I like to see.
No, you're all right. I realised that everything on my camera looks really high up. My apron's high up. Everything.
So we need a score for texture, please.
See, the texture I thought for me was one of the best parts of the cheese. I feel like that it was that nice mix of dense but open, and it coated your mouth really nice. So I'd be up there for like 8 or 9.
I think it was a luxurious mouthfeel that really did coat my mouth in the most beautiful way. So I think an 8.5 for me.
Let's go. 8.5. Great descriptive words, James.
Thank you so much. I've got a little diary down here and notes.
I'll say you've been reading up, haven't you? Adjectives.
Thanks for sending me those messages.
It's always good to prep.
Okay, chaps. Finally, flavour for this one, please.
I think, like James said, it's one of them because
I
mean, it wasn't what you expect from a lactic goat cheese, definitely. It wasn't in any way a bad flavour. I think it just would have been nicer for it to be a bit brighter and a bit more that lactic element. And the salt at the end was just, I think, for me, the one thing that stands out. So for me, again, I'll probably be looking around a 6-ish, maybe a 5 or a 6, unfortunately. Which again, the flavour wasn't bad. I just think it was lacking a lot, and the salt was quite strong at the end.
Yeah. So for me, I'm very similar to Jonathan. I do believe that the cheese was slightly richer than I would have anticipated, more umami, savoury, and than I had would initially anticipate for such a cheese. I would like to see it. Bright is a really good word. Much brighter, more citrusy, more fresh goaty. I would have loved to have seen that more. All in all, though, it's a good cheese. However, in this category, it doesn't deliver on the fresh, bright, citrusy, goatee appeal that I would expect from such a young cheese. So, yeah, I think for me, I would want to. I think because of that lack of that delivery, I think we're looking at a 6.
I'm happy with a 6.
Yeah, 6. Yeah.
6 it is then, chaps. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to F71119 next, please.
Ooh.
Can you hold it up to the camera for us, James? Give us a little. Ooh.
Can you say something as well? Then I can get a great photo.
It's
cheese.
So like pyramid in shape. It's got a nice the rind again. It's that same thing we had with the previous one where you can really see that it's handmade, which I think is lovely. It kind of makes me want to taste it because I think like it looks like someone's really taken lots of time and effort to put into it. So
it's a little bit rubbery on the touch. Do you know what I mean? Quite springy and rubbery.
Yeah, got a bit of
which
bit.
suggests to me that the rind is going to be a very big part of the action on this cheese. I'm thinking there's ash underneath it potentially. I don't know. We'll look at that.
If you feel it, you can actually feel. Sounds really weird, but almost like braille. I know that sounds really weird, but I wonder if this has been pierced.
Ooh.
Because you can feel just, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 on each side.
There's a couple of holes, isn't there? Yeah, I've got 1, 2, 1, 2, and if they equalize on the other side, which they do, yeah. So I've got 2 little. So I don't even hold this up to the camera. It's quite interesting.
Oh.
I'm going to wipe them where it's more distinguished. You see the 3 little marks
at
there?
The bottom,
brilliant shot. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm going to go to the other side.
My camera is awful.
I'm turning it around. And there's 3 shots on that side. So it looks like, as Jonathan Piercy investigates, which could be a new TV series, couldn't it? Jonathan Piercy
that'd be amazing. Can you be my sidekick? You could be my sidekick. It'd be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be fun. And on the other side as well, 2 and 2. So let's see what's in this cheese.
I'm really intrigued about this one now.
I'm going straight down the middle, Jonathan. How about you? That's the wrong way to cut this cheese, though.
Yeah, I know, but in the interest of on camera,
the viewers,
and what we've just discussed, in
interest of the audience, this is how we should be cutting these.
So that's been pierced straight through one side to another, and top to bottom by the looks of it.
Mm.
So that's my cut. That's the right way to cut it, by the way.
You've got to think about the people watching it, James. It's not all about you, mate.
I thought it was. So what I was saying about the rind is quite thick, the rind. And what I don't want to happen when I eat cheeses like this, it is partially subjective as well. But something I learned, if I could say Mons, from Laurent Mons when I did the affineurs course, when you bite through the rind into the paste below, you want to have a really gorgeous transition, so you're not thinking too much about the rind and how that affects the mouthfeel. So what I want to do with this is be able to bite into this and not have to think too much about the rind. I want to be able to concentrate on the whole thing, so it all comes together, one thing not being over the other. So let's see if that works.
And you can really see the clear, like the definition, the breakdown of the cheese from like the core as it works its way out to the rind. So you can see sort of there where it's a little bit more chalky in the middle.
And I've done it the opposite way to you, cutting that way. And you can see the 3 holes that have come through.
Yeah.
So you've done it the length way, I've done it that way. That's interesting. I wonder why that's happened.
Got quite a nice. I think it's got quite a nice smell to it.
What does nice mean?
So yeah, that's not a really bad word for this, isn't it? Yeah. You do get the lactic elements. You get a good bit of farminess in there, not too intense, but that little bit of sort of farminess you'd associate with like quite a goaty cheese. So I would expect it to taste quite goaty. Obviously, I don't know yet, but given the smell.
So this has been aged for some time. There's a bit of proteolysis there. There's a halo around just under the rind, as you can see as well. There's there's a driven salt to the taste of this, which is harmonizing with the goatiness of the cheese. It's a very interesting cheese.
It really is, yeah.
The rind isn't really taking away from the paste. It seems to work quite nicely with the paste. I was a little worried about that to start with.
I think the salt,
I
when
like
the salt, oh, go on, sorry, you go.
I like the fact that they've allowed this to go on and to do some good affinage to refine this in a really nice way.
Yeah.
It's
I
a very
think
interesting texture.
the salt is, again, quite strong. It
Quite
is, like you
dominant,
say,
yeah.
on that high level, but I don't feel like it takes away from that, because it's got quite an intense sort of that farm goat flavor to it. I feel like the salt gives it a bit of balance. I would still say maybe I could do a little bit less salt. I wouldn't take loads away from it, but a little bit less, because it is quite strong. But it does bring balance to the farming, that farminess of the goat's milk. And I think because it's quite strong in goat flavor, I think it doesn't leave you with anything bad though. You know, I'm not left with anything like that awful goat's tang you can get sometimes with really intense ones. And like you say, to look at, you'd imagine it's been aged for longer, but it doesn't taste overly intense, because some goat cheeses that are aged for a bit longer can be a bit too much, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know how many weeks this has been aged for, but I'm going to hazard a guess that it's been aged for at least 8-9 weeks.
Mm.
At least 8-9 weeks. It's an interesting cheese. It's definitely goaty. It's got a high salt, as you said. It does have a kind of a fruity pear drop note at the back as well.
Yeah, that's sort of like fructose, that sort of natural sweetness you get from fruit, that sort of thing. Yeah, I love a pear drop,
It's
by
a
the
very
way.
interesting cheese. I'd like to talk to the cheesemaker about the holes and why and what that does. Is he doing that to aerate the cheese as it's aging?
Do you
I
think
don't know why
they're
that's
doing it
happening.
to actually create it, to make it a blue, like to do? Because I've never seen a goat's cheese, or any, I don't think any cheese this shape been pierced for bluing, but maybe that's what the target is. Maybe they're targeting it to try and make it a blue sort of goat's cheese.
Very interesting cheese. I'd be quite happy to have it on a cheese board. I'd love to serve that with something quite sweet to contrast with it.
A
Yeah,
quince,
well
like a
done.
membrio sort of thing, would be fantastic with it.
Yeah, membry was the first thing that came to mind. Or even a really fresh, beautifully ripe pear, like
Yeah,
really ripe pear would
yeah,
go really beautifully with this cheese.
that'd
And
be
some
amazing.
toasted
Yeah.
walnuts. There we go.
Sounds yummy, guys. Let's start to give this one some scores then. Appearance first, please.
What do you think, James?
I think it's incredibly innovative. I've never seen such a short goat cheese. I'd love to know who makes this one. I'm going to go for a 9.
Yeah, I'm up there with that. I think it looks beautifully handmade. It's got and like you say,
Maybe,
really innovative. Something very different, which I
maybe
love.
9.5 even, Jonathan. Why would we mark that down from a 10 even? Why don't we give
Well,
it a
yeah,
10?
I think you're right. I think I don't know why, for what reason we'd not give it a 9.5 or a 10. I think
Let's give it a 10.
let's go 10. Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
ding
Well
that
done,
cheesy bear.
chaps. Lovely. Hey, aroma?
Again, I quite like it. It's fresh, milky. You get that little bit of farmy goatness to it. It's not too intense.
A little bit
From the
fungal.
smell, you'd expect it to be quite a goaty cheese, which does deliver. So I think kind of the smell does lead you nicely into what you taste as well. I think there's a clear link between the two, which sometimes, you can smell one thing, it tastes very different. What do you think, James?
Yeah, no, great. I think it's got that the mycelium of penicillium on the outside as well. It's driven this lovely fungal notes as well, that kind of mushroomy note, which is really cool.
Fungal.
Which is really interesting on a cheese like this.
It's a great descriptive word, isn't it? Fungal.
Sorry. I love this cheese. I think it's really sweet. I think the smell is definitely a 9 for me.
Yeah, same with me. I'm happy with a 9.
Fabulous.
I'd like to see, the reason why it's not a 10 is because I think a little bit more would be good.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think you could have a little bit
Brilliant
more
feedback.
aroma.
Thank you, guys. Texture?
Again, the
Awesome.
texture surprised me. I think cutting into it, I felt like it might be, like James said, there would be a bit more definition when eating it between the rind and when you get into the paste of the cheese. And when you can see, like we showed before, that real clear definition through the cheese from the core to the outer. but actually it's quite a nice, when you're eating it, it's quite a nice experience, and it all follows through quite nicely. So for me, again, I think I'll be up there 8 or 9, I think, for me.
I'm going 9.
I'm happy to sit on a 9 with James. Oh, didn't mean how that sounded at all.
No. I'm
Sorry,
moving on to
Cara.
flavour.
Sorry. I think the only thing for me I could mark it down on for flavour would be the salt. I think as much as I appreciate the salt because it balances, I feel like you could take a little bit away from it and it wouldn't change the balance of the cheese. You know, because it is quite, I'm still left with a little bit of salt, which again isn't offensive, but I feel like a little bit less wouldn't be a bad thing.
Given the age of this cheese, Jonathan, we've got to consider that the salt will become very much part of the cheese as it ages, as it runs through and it acidifies.
That's a really good point.
It becomes saltier as well. So I don't think we want to take too much away from it. I'm probably going to be happy with an 8.59 on this.
Yeah, I'd say I'd happily. I was going to say 8 or 9, so I'm happy to say 8.5.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you, chaps.
Oh, actually, do you know what? Should we go 9, James?
Let's go 9.
Let's go 9 because it is, and it's so interesting. I think there's got to be some element of innovation points in there because it's such an interesting cheese.
You're absolutely right. It's very innovative. Have I come across a cheese like that before? No. What I want to talk to the cheesemaker. Why have you done those holes? I think you're saying the blue. It's really interesting, and it's amazing how we picked up on it. It's almost braille on the outside. Yeah, very cool.
I make a little note in my diary to let you know as soon as we can possibly let you know who it is, so you can contact them. Okay, chaps. On to F71120, please.
Ooh. Okay. So we've got some Penicillium roqueforti, that's blue on the outside of the cheese. We've got Penicillium candidum, which is obviously the mushroom white covering on the outside of the cheese that you associate with soft cheeses.
Am I right in thinking, James, that the roqueforti is just mainly on the top of yours?
It looks like it, yeah, just on the top.
Yeah.
Which is quite. There's some on the side as well, but not too much. Have you got much on yours?
A couple of little spots on the side and maybe a couple on the bottom, but majority on the top. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can actually wipe them as well. Wipe them off on the side. I've been able to do that.
Oh, yeah.
So that's probably engendered by the environment that it's being aged in, I'd imagine. You can actually see the rind underneath, which hasn't got any covering as well. So it's not got a massive covering of the. It doesn't have a big covering. There is a bit of damage to it as well, which I'm not going to hold anybody up about. That's just the way transportation. I think we need to be kind as far as that bit's concerned. The smell is very dairy, very milky. There's
when you cut into it, James, and you smell the inside, I think the inside smells fantastic.
Yeah, touch of ammonia on the rind and the outside, which I'd expect as well. It's a little bit wet.
Yeah.
As well, a lot of moisture still.
I think the core, as you cut into it, the inside looks lovely.
Yeah. If you look at the cheese from this side, you can see that the halo effect, which is the creamy edge, is weighted on one side, which would appear to be the bottom.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that indicates that they haven't turned it regularly.
And that might lend itself to why there's the roqueforti more on the top as well, if they haven't turned it as much.
Yeah, I would imagine it is, and it might be that that's what they're trying to do. That they don't turn it too much, and this is the effect, because there are certain cheeses that do that as well.
Because I think, like you say, from that top bit, the halo is actually quite nicely spaced around the outside. It just, like you say, at the top is not as much, but the sides and the bottom, it's got quite a nice.
Yeah, it's quite interesting what they've done, and there is a slight concaveness as a result on the top, very gentle but slightly, which would be normal as well. I don't think it's a very old cheese, but it's older than some. So you're probably looking about 35 days, something like that. 35, 40 days. I'm quite interested.
Guys?
Texture's quite, it's dense. It's similar to the second cheese we had. It's quite dense, but it's coats your mouth, the middle coats your mouth quite nicely. The rind's quite thick, and I feel like you are getting what James discussed before in the previous cheese about that definition where it's not a smoother transition between the rind into the cheese, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's very salty.
It is very salty, yeah.
Which is the salt has overtaken the flavour of the goat's cheese for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm getting a bit.
I'm getting the mold as well. Getting the taste
Yeah,
of the
really.
mold.
That's quite strong, that mold flavour.
There is some kind of floral notes on the back as well, which is from the mold. I'm getting those kind of floral notes as well.
I think the salt is getting kind of just gets stronger towards the end as well.
And there is a bitterness to it as well. There is a sour note, excuse me, a sour note to this cheese as well. Yeah. Okay. Well, as far as look is concerned, I think. Sorry, Jonathan. Do you want to say anything else?
No. I agree with you. I think there's that sort of the sourness. It's like it's a bit of that yogurty element, but it's quite strong. But again, I can't get away from the salt because actually the texture, when you taste the paste, is actually quite a nice texture. But I feel like the rind does take away from that experience of the texture. It is got quite a bite to it, that rind, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think to look at, it's not a bad looking cheese. I think it looks nice. But I do think the element of, getting that blue in on the top and maybe there's not much anywhere else. I feel like it could look I feel like maybe I wouldn't say it's as pretty as the previous cheese, for instance, if that makes sense.
No, I don't think so. It's quite rustic. I think one thing we've got to be very careful with in the United Kingdom is to, and I'm not suggesting you are, Jonathan, but we're going to the big French markets, etc., and Italian markets of cheese, and seeing all of these cheeses with all of their various colours and guises and molds on them. And it's very much appreciated by the local communities how those cheeses look. It's quite for the British cheese buying public. They're always slightly a bit when they see anything on the outside of the cheeses. And we've been given a category that is that does grow those. And I think, given the fact that this is quite rustic and very handmade, I think I'm not going to mark that down as a result of it. I think that's natural. It's endemic of the environment it's growing in.
That's fair enough.
I
was more thinking just because, a lot of those cheese you were saying you'll get it. This is because it's just sat on the top. I'd have expected to see a bit more
proliferation.
Yeah, whatever that means. Yeah. I don't think the mold's a bad thing at all. If anything, it's like you say, it's character and it's part of the process. But I think I would have expected it more lends me towards the fact of thinking, right, has this not been turned as much as it should have? That was more my thought process.
Well, it hasn't been. We know that. We can see that the base is clean.
So I think that's more my thought process with the mold, not necessarily that it's a bad thing, just more I'd have expected maybe a little bit more on the sides as well, potentially as a result of how it had been treated.
I think had it been turned more frequently, we would have seen a different looking cheese.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, shall we move into judging it then in terms of scoring? Let's go for appearance.
I think, like James said, I like the fact that it looks handmade. It's clearly very artisanal in that sense. So I think it's a nice looking cheese. For me, given what I said before, I'd probably be sitting around maybe the 8 mark, 7 between like 7 or 8. I'd be around there for it. Look,
let's stick on 8 then.
8?
8. Yeah.
Go for aroma.
I quite like it, and I feel like when you smell the paste in the middle, you get a really nice, quite a clean, milky smell to it, which I really like.
Yeah.
And you get a little bit of that farm again, like we did in the previous one. So I quite like that. It's quite a balanced smell. So I'd be up there with the aroma for me. I'd be up there for at least a 9, I think.
Yeah.
What do you think, James?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. 9.
Nice. bear with me 1 second. Yeah. Okay, chaps. So we've got scores for appearance, aroma. Can we move on to texture?
I quite like the texture. I felt like it was that nice halfway point between density and being slightly open. I think the rind, that transition from the rind to the paste, I found a little bit, as James discussed before, maybe a little bit. It wasn't as smooth, that transition. So, what do you think, James?
No, I think you're right. It's a little bit pappy on the rind as it led through to the centre. I think it was very rustic, artisan looking. Texture let it down slightly on that pappiness. You might want to take a bit of care or think about when they're making the cheese of the way and how often it's turned, etc. And if that, as it may have an effect, mentally effect when you're tasting a cheese, that takes away from the cheese, and also the other we'll get to taste in a second. But I think as a result of that, we need to mark it down a little bit to maybe a 7.
Yeah, I was literally going to say 7. Yeah.
Brilliant, chaps. And finally, flavour for this one.
I'm going to go straight in. I think there's a lot of opportunity for this flavour to be even more brilliant. I think there needs to be more care on salting. A little more care on salting with this. And I think also the turning of the cheese will influence the proteolysis around the cheese and harmonize the rind more, which will mean that you'll have a more balanced cheese with a balanced covering of molds at the same time, potentially, given the aeration and the biome in which the cheese is being caved. I think on that, for that front, from the southeast of England, from Buckinghamshire, my vote is wheat points.
From the northwest of England, where it's sunny for a change, I would probably go in flavour-wise, for me, probably about a 7. So I'm happy to meet in the middle, 7.5.
Yes, 7 Mets is fine for me.
Because I just felt like the saltiness really was that's what I'm left with, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But again, not a bad flavour. Just like you say, it has potential to be
slightly overpowering.
Yeah, with a cheeky little sweet wine of Vinsanto, perhaps, or a Chateau Chem, I'd be quite happy with that in the corner of my room. With nobody disturbing me.
You're not selling. No one's buying wine off you today, James.
You want to bet? I got a link.
Moving on. We've got to pick this up a little bit.
Okay.
So F71138. Interesting looking log.
Oh, yes. Looks good. Love this.
I cannot get it right when I put the cheese up to the camera.
Yes, you are, lovely. Yum, yum, yum.
Again, like you said, James, there's a little bit of slip on the rind, isn't there, when you pick it up? Ever so slightly.
Not as much as it was on the other one.
No.
We tried. 1055. This it's a little bit wet to the touch, just a little bit wet on the touch.
Oh yeah, it smells lovely.
It smells amazing. It smells goaty. It smells beautiful. And
actually, when you cut it, little bit of breakdown just inside that rind, and I think it looks lovely. And it's all that halo effect's very even, which is lovely. Got to stop saying that word. I keep saying lovely, don't I? I think of something else. Smells, that inside, James, smells fantastic.
It does. It smells very fresh. Now that's bright, fresh, yogurty kind of smell I'd associate with a young, fresh goat's cheese like this. It's got a tiny breakdown under the rind. I think that will go more and more. I think this is fairly young.
Oh, James.
The mouthfeel is incredible.
Phenomenal.
The sauce is pretty much perfect.
Yeah. And you get a little bit of farminess towards the end, but oh my God, I've got saliva going on. You get that nice bit of farminess at the end. You know, that's pleasant. It's not strong. It's just that back note of this was handmade, and you get that farminess.
I love this cheese. I'd like to see a little more lactic freshness to it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean, I quite
It's
enjoy the
lovely.
fact that it's not too much on that end. Given like you said, I would expect it to be quite young. Like its age, I wouldn't imagine it's an older cheese, but yeah, I think maybe more would be nice. But at the same time, I don't think the fact that it isn't there detracts from how nice the cheese is. The texture is phenomenal, isn't it?
We've got to consider the milk. This is probably under 30 days old, I would imagine. So we go back April cheese, beginning of April.
The salt's
So
so well balanced on that.
imagine what the goats are what the goats what they're enjoying, the weather, how that has an effect on the goats as well. This is a very beautiful cheese. Yeah, no two ways about it.
It's really rich.
Yeah. It's got that kind of cheesecakey note going on for me as well. It's that thick and but it's got that openness where the first cheese didn't deliver. So I'm going to judge this now. The look for me is perfect. That's a 10.
Yeah, I agree. I actually quite like the fact that the charcoal in is like, it's not completely covered it all. There's some
it's been nicely done, but the patches are throughout. It's been nicely done. It's not
definitely. I just think it's been done to the point where there's not too much of it. There's little gaps which I like because you're getting to see the rind as well. So no, I'm a great 10. I think a 10's on the money.
Yeah, and as far as the smell's concerned, I'm going to give this a 10 as well.
I hate to say this, James, but I'm going to agree with you. Because actually delicious. The smell on the outside is great, but the smell when you cut into it is fantastic.
It's such a fresh, bright, springy smell, if I can even say springy smell, but it's got that spring note to it. It's got that kind of really bouncy,
it really has.
Bouncy freshness. Love it. Yeah.
I think texture-wise, I can't give it 10. Anything other than a 10.
Oh.
I really can't. I think there's nothing there that I would in any way want to change.
Taste.
It's up there for me. I think, James, you commented on the fact that you would like a bit more of that sort of lactic citrusy element. So what do you think? Do we go with
It's the day, isn't it, Jonathan? It's the day that cheeses make. It's the milk. It's what is being delivered on that day that's affecting it. So every cheese is different. It's like somebody says to me about a certain cheddar cheese. I always have that cheese. I don't want any more of that. Taste this make. It's different. Every make is different.
And I think that's the thing. I think you could have the same cheese made 2 days later.
I'm happy with a 9.5 or a 10. I'm going to be swayed by you.
I'm going to go 10.
10.
Because if you're happy with that, James, just because I can't see exactly what you said. Yes, there could be more freshness and more lactic notes, but I think that's just down to the milk on that day. And I think another day and you'd get a bit more of that. And I love that about it, because actually the fact there's not as much lactic there doesn't take away from the fact that it tastes amazing. And I'm still getting all the notes I'd expect from a goat's cheese. Different to that one before where we were like, you're not getting what you'd expect. I think that's an amazing cheese.
I am so sorry. Something's happened with my spreadsheet. So I'm going to have to ask you to talk me through that cheese again.
Okay, I'll hit you from the top, and then Jonathan hit you from the top. So this cheese for me, the rind and the distribution of ash to salt is pretty much perfect. It's perfect as far as I'm concerned. So the look of this cheese is beautiful. Jonathan?
Agreed. Yeah, I think I always like it as well. I know it sounds silly, but you can see the lines from where it's been sat on the rack. I always quite like that little bit that you get of like, you can sort of see how it's been made. And again, like James said, the ashing on it's perfect. It's not consistently covered all round, which I like because it enables you to see the cheese as well. So I think for us, we were saying that the appearance is a 10.
Yeah, and the aroma it's beautiful, it's goaty, it's farmy, it's clean, it's bright, it's spring-like, it's gorgeous. It's a banging cheese, ladies and gentlemen. Cheesemaker, if you're watching this is good.
10. Definitely a 10, because everything James just said. it's what you'd expect, but also a bit different in a really lovely way. And
Yeah.
that sort of really milky creaminess is just fantastic.
As far as the taste of this cheese is concerned, and the paste or the texture of this cheese is concerned, it transitions beautifully from the rind into the heart of this beautiful paste. It's a really well balanced texture. It fills my mouth with the beautiful fats from the paste. It's just gorgeous. It's a lovely cheese. It's a lovely
Really
texture.
is. And I think, like James said, the definition from the rind, and when you look at it, you can really see that there's the definition of that halo effect. But I think it's such a beautiful, smooth transition. It's that perfect balance between density and openness. I think, it's always going to be a 10. It's just so well done.
Thank you, guys. And I'm just clarifying that is F71182.
1138.
1138. Brilliant. That's where it's gone wrong. That's
And
exactly
as
what
far
I
as the
needed.
taste of this cheese is concerned, it's rich. It's got bright notes. It's got a really lovely goaty, farmy note at the same time. It's really well balanced. It represents the quality of milk. The quality of milk that's going into this is great, and that's born through incredibly good animal husbandry, with no bias apart from looking after the animals to produce a really good cheese. And I think whoever makes this cheese needs to be applauded. Well done, them.
And I think what you said there, James, is like bang on the money. You can really tell how well these animals are looked after, and that produces such a great quality of milk. I think on any given day you'd get slightly different flavors, any different make, sorry, you'd get different flavors. And I think the beauty of this is you've got what you'd expect from a goat's cheese, but you've also got a little bit of savouriness, but the main thing for me is what you said, James, is the balance is perfect. You get everything you want to taste in the right amount, and it's quite long. You get a nice amount of length to the flavour as well, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, it's great cheese. So there's a 10 for me, and it's a
Definitely
10 from
a 10.
you. Yeah. There's a lovely wine which is made in Suffolk. I can't remember the name, but there's a great wine that goes really well with this as well. I'll try and remember it, but otherwise go with a really good Sauvignon Blanc when you have this wine, whoever made this cheese, because it will just be heavenly.
Or a very nice IPA.
Okay, yeah.
If you go for a nice, but I love beer with cheese. So if you get, well, non-alcoholic nowadays, but if you get a nice IPA with that sort of wheaty fruitiness, would sit really beautifully with that.
Perfect. Where are we going next?
We're going on to F71182, please.
Wait.
So this is an example of what we were saying before, James, about, even turning will bring that bluing element all over the cheese. And you can see it's quite even, that little bit of Roquefort that's popping across the whole cheese.
Absolutely, rooting tootly dootly. You're right.
And that's where we were talking before about the previous one where I was saying about it being sat on the top predominantly. This has obviously been turned more regularly because you've got it really well covered.
Well dissipated.
You can smell that sort of, that is like you used to previously, that moldy, the rind and the mold really has got that earthy smell to it.
Well, yeah. And then if you look at the halo, it's just equal. It's quite young again.
Oh, the smell on the middle is fantastic.
Very nice. And this is a crottin style, I think, crottin de Chevignon style, but quite young.
Really fresh.
There's some nice vermiculation on the outside of the rind. The topography is engendered by the yeast.
Can we please tell us what vimography means, please, James?
Topography is basically the kind of the landscape on the surface of the cheese has been engendered beautifully by the yeast geo, which is now funneling itself under the rind, eating.
Funneling, that's a great word.
Doing lipolysis and proteolysis, breaking down the fats, and it will in time become slightly more haloed, creamy underneath that rind. Unless they put it into a cooler room or they extract more moisture from it quickly.
How's the texture, chaps?
Good. I like the texture. A bit more open than the previous one, so it's a bit softer, although still a bit dense.
It's
I
not
think
massively delivering on flavour though, Jonathan, is it?
No, I feel there's again quite a lot of salt
Quite a
towards
lot of
the
salt towards the end.
I get a lot of salt, yeah. And actually, I know you'd expect a bit of ammonia with it, but I'd say it's a little bit higher on this.
I'm not getting a lot of ammonia on mine. I think it's salt dominant. As
Yeah,
far as the flavour is quite flat, I'm afraid to say. It's not really delivering on any flavour. There's no interesting nuances on flavour on this
yeah,
cheese. It's one-dimensional. It's fresh. It's got a fairly good mouthfeel. The rind actually detracts slightly. It's a little bit pappy, the rind as
yeah.
well. And I'm not really picking up any of those moldy notes, that kind of mushroom flavour in my mouth as well.
No,
So
because you can smell it quite a lot when you smell the outside of the cheese. And like you said, I'd expect to taste it, but I'm not. And like you
yeah,
say, that pappiness on the rind, although the
yeah,
texture of the paste is actually really nice, and like you say, coats your
yeah.
mouth quite nicely. But the flavour, like you say, it's quite creamy in flavour, but there's no real, no real notes that you're tasting of anything like, especially when you compare it to like the one we had before that. I would say you definitely,
Exactly.
it's like you say, James, quite one dimensional, unfortunately.
Okay, so I'm going
Guys,
to, as far as look is concerned, the look for me is a 9 or a 10. I think even a
I'd
10
go.
is fine on look.
I'd be happy with the 9.5 because I like the dispersion of the mold element. I like the shape of it. It looks very handmade, so I'm happy with a
So what can we
9.5.
do to make it better?
Um,
So I give it a 10.
it's a good question. Yeah, go with 10 then. Yeah, you're right, James. Good point.
hey, aroma, guys.
Again, I quite like the smell. I feel like, that really clear sort of mold fungal smell you get on the outside, and when you cut into it, it's really creamy. It's got a bit of brightness to it from the smell point of view. I quite like the aroma.
I think it could deliver a bit more for me. I'm on an 8.
Yeah, well, I'll be happy to go. Can we go 8.5?
Yep,
Yeah,
sure.
okay.
Texture, I'm quite happy with the texture of it. I think we have to go. There's nothing apart from the pappiness of the rind. So for that, I'm going to bring it down to 7.5.
Oh, really? That's lower than I thought you were going to go.
You're thinking
Are you happy
8?
if we go? I say happy we got 8, yeah, because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
sure.
the paste is really nice, and it, like you say, it coats your mouth nicely. But yeah, the rind is the bit that I think that you can't sort of not focus on, because you do definitely notice that when you're eating it.
And as far as the flavour is concerned, for me, the overall flavour, I'm afraid to say, is quite disappointing. I wanted it to be more of a journey. There wasn't a journey I was getting on that cheese. It didn't offer those nuances that I would be looking for in such a cheese, that bright, yogurty, acidity, creaminess, goatiness, like farmy notes. I didn't really pick up on any of those. All I got
Yeah,
was not much at all. I'm sorry to say, it was creamy, but it wasn't tasty creamy. So I'm going to give it a 5.56.
yeah, I'm happy with a 6. It's a shame because I think actually that creamy element is very nice,
Yeah.
but there's just no length and no like there's no real interest to it. It's just like you say, quite one noted, and the salt is quite high on it again.
And if you think about the method in which the cheese is being
Complexity,
made,
that's the word I was looking for. Complexity, sorry.
complexity, yeah, and you think about the way the cheese is being made, if it's if it's a pasteurized cheese, if that's been quick pasteurization, or if it's a slower pasteurization, and all of that will affect obviously the microorganisms within the milk at the same time, which lead to whatever's left after the pasteurization lead to the overall cheese, and what the cultures they're using as well,
Yeah,
etc., etc. So yeah, it's yeah. I'm sorry, but yeah, it looks great.
You guys,
Texture could be better, and the taste could be better.
still quite high scoring, so thank you very much. We're going to move on to F71188.
Oh,
Oh,
it's a little tiny goat's cheese. Sorry, got
it's
something else on it. Little tiny
very
goat's cheese.
very sticky on the outside.
Very young.
Yeah,
That's suggesting it's incredibly young. So there's
and again,
probably only
feeling it, it feels very firm. Like when we've had previous
yeah.
ones when there's been a bit of slip or movement on the rind, You're not getting any of that on this, and actually quite firm to cut.
Very firm cheese. This is definitely a crottin style, crottin de Chavignol, traditional cheese in France back in the 80s and 90s. This sort of cheese would have been stuck under the grill, cut in half, and served on top of a salad with lardons. Very typical. This will be allowed to age longer as well. They are typically quite firm like this as well.
Beautiful, bright color to it. You know, the inside is lovely and white and beautiful.
It's got a very nice nose to it.
It really has, yeah.
Yeah, really citrusy, kind of yogurty.
Very clean.
Quite cloudy, fills the mouth.
Very dry, I think. Quite dry.
Very dry, which is normal for this cheese.
Yeah. But would you not have a little bit, normally a little bit, it would coat your mouth a little bit more, I'd say. The drop.
Need some water.
For me, for that style of cheese, I still think that's maybe a little bit on the dry side.
It is dry. It does have a good flavour to it.
I'm left with a bit of a...
What does good mean, James?
Sorry?
What does good flavour mean?
Okay, thank you. So good flavour means it's got some good bright acidity still. It's got a goaty note to it. It's a little bit herbaceous.
I'm getting a weird, like not a weird, but an unusual flavour at the end. I can't quite put my finger on it. It's not bad, but I don't feel like it's, I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like it's almost a slightly medicinal at the end.
I was about to say there's a little bit of astringency towards the end.
Yeah. And again, it's not offensive, not overpowering, but you just get it towards the end, don't you? A little bit.
A little bit metallic.
Yes.
Metallic.
Yeah.
Like stainless steel. But
you do get, like James said, that farminess, a little bit of farminess, that proper light lactic element to it.
So let's mark it. I think as far as the look is concerned, I'm happy to give it a 10. There's nothing wrong with the way that looks. A couple of specks of blue on mine, which are normal. That happens. Yeah.
Are you happy with that, Jonathan?
I'd for me, I feel like the outside, I know it's this style of cheese, but and it's quite young, but I feel like I would like to have seen a little bit less of that sort of pastiness on the outside, because mine looks like it's got a lot of that paste element. So I would be happy to go for like a 9 or 9.5.
Did you say pastiness?
Yeah.
It's quite a young cheese, though.
No, I know, yeah, but I feel like the coloration, the paste, I don't know. I just feel like that when I've seen this style of cheese previously, it's not got as much of that sort of pasty. And again, it might be down to the fact that it's traveled, but for me, I'd be 9.5.
Let's give it 9.5 then.
Okay, happy to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Thank you, chaps. Aroma?
Good.
Yeah, I like the smell. It's got a nice, fresh, milky element to it.
10.
I'd struggle to know what to mark it down on, to be honest with you. So 10. I think I'd sit there with a 10, yeah.
Okay. Texture?
Very drying.
Yeah. I mean, like James said, you'd expect it from this style of cheese to be a bit drier and chalkier. I'd
probably give it a 9, 8.5, 9, Jonathan, to be fair. I think it might be a bit too dry, a bit too...
I think it's a bit too much. Like you said, as much as I'd expect it, I feel like it's a bit too dry for me. So I would happy to go 8.5, yeah.
At this stage in its life,
yeah,
it's a bit too dry.
Yeah.
Clarifying that, guys. Appreciate it. And then finally, flavour.
It's got a lot of great things going on. I think towards the end, it gets a little bit metallic, chemical towards the end.
Yeah.
As Jonathan said, I think that kind of lets it down. I can imagine this in a dish being stuck under the salamander, under the grill, allowing those the the sugars in the cheese to be able to brown nicely. It would be quite a beautiful cheese to serve, and it would pronounce those flavors more as you're caramelizing those flavors. So I think it would be a great cheese. I think it lets itself down probably, if you look at the flavor as a whole thing, and that as a percentage, I think the percentage that is letting us down is probably in the region of about 5 or 6%. So I'd probably go 9.5.
Yeah, I mean, I'll sit on a 9. I would have gone sort of 8.5. I'm happy to meet with you at 9. I feel like potentially you'd see quite a more balanced cheese if it was even a little bit older. I know this is the nature of this cheese at this age, but I feel like you'd lose a bit of that metallicness and you'd probably create a bit more creaminess if it was a little bit older. So I'm happy to sit on a 9 with you, James. I've got to stop saying that as well.
Then.
I can't keep saying sit on a 9.
8.5.
You have 8.5?
Yeah.
Chaps, on to our penultimate cheese on this class, which is F71202, please.
We've got 2 more. We've got 2 more after that then, yeah?
Let's have a look.
Yeah, we've got 203 and 204.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, we've got 3 more to go. We're going to have to pick it up a smidgy bit.
Okay. So this is a very interesting looking cheese.
Oh.
Very, very interesting. It looks like a piece of wood.
It does, yeah. And do you know what? I don't think I've seen a cheese.
Smell that.
I don't think I've seen a cheese of this shape with, I'm going to use this word, this girth. Because it is a very wide cheese. And
that's not wide, mate. Trust me.
Oh.
It smells very fishy.
I was going to say it smells fishy, yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about that smell.
I'm not sure how I feel about it either. It's I mean, I can imagine it could be off-putting for some people.
It smells like being in Billingsgate Market by the crustacea department.
Oh, but the middle, James.
Look at the middle.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Looks stunning, guys.
The middle smells beautiful.
What does it smell
different. The smell of the middle.
It smells fresh.
Fresh,
it smells
lactic.
It smells
creamy.
Bright. How can you describe bright as a smell? Like a fresh glass of goat's milk where you just swung it a little bit to allow the volatiles to come out to hit you in the nose with that bright, fresh, goaty nose.
Jesus, who's put 50p in? It's got almost grassy, lovely grassy notes in there. Like James said before, this smells like where the goats would be. I know that sounds stupid. The goats, you know, what they're eating, where they are, or the terroir. You know, you can I feel like you can smell that through the paste of the cheese.
I was going to say you can't smell it from the outside because I haven't seen any goats at Billingsgate Market.
I was going to say, yeah, the smell on the outside. It's actually quite unusual how different the outside smells to the inside. Because they're 2 very different smells.
It's really interesting.
All right, let's go.
Texture, babes.
That's really unusual. It's got savouriness. It's got a bitterness to it. It's quite intense. But I don't get much. I wouldn't say I get a huge amount of goatiness to it.
No.
I think there's a lot going on, but not goatiness. It's not very citrusy or light or bright, I would say, in flavour.
No. Let's so moving on swiftly then.
I feel like it tastes. It's got a lot of bitterness at the back. You get hit with a bit of bitterness towards the end, don't you?
That's from the rind, which I'd expect. So that pepper, like black pepper note.
It really is peppery, yeah.
So if I look at this cheese, the overall look of this cheese is definitely a 10 for me. It's beautifully vermiculated.
Yeah.
It's been refined really well, I would imagine, as well. The halo is pretty much spot on the outside there. It's been turned magnificently. It's allowed to form in this shape by the by the moisture within the cheese as it's being turned. It will vermiculate in a way. The geo on the outside of that has had a real party to give it that brain-like topography. It's a beautiful cheese.
And that break through the middle is fantastic. Yeah. I love that. And clear white, beautiful white color to it in the middle.
Yeah, I'll give it a 10 to look at for sure.
Yeah,
I'm really happy with that. As far as the Jonathan, are you happy with a 10? Sorry, man.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, I think aroma-wise, it's almost a tale of two different smells, really, isn't it? Because the external smells like you said, fishy. It smells unusually fishy, but then the inside smells beautiful.
I kind of go back to it, and I'm kind of smelling the area where the goats are on the rind as well, and there's not a bad thing either. I like exploring it a little bit more. So I'm quite happy with a 9.
I don't know. I feel, we talked before about cheese where you feel like what you smell translate into sort of what you taste, that sort of transition. I don't feel like, although I know what you mean, the more you smell it, it does become maybe a bit more farmy, but I still get that fishiness as well. For me, I'd be on an 8 with the smell. So
okay,
are you happy me
8.5?
8.5? Yeah.
Okay, cool. Texture.
I like the texture.
Love it. Yeah, I'm going to go.
I think the texture's great. That breakdown on the halo's lovely. The rind transition's fantastic. There's no pappiness at all, so I'm happy to go with a 10. 10, yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And finally, flavour.
Flavour for me is it's. I'm going to have to give it another quick taste, Cara. Sorry.
Okay.
I feel like the flavour is very unusual. It goes back to what we've said previously about not being what you'd expect from a goat cheese. I don't think there's much light or brightness or citrus lactic element to it. It's quite a savoury, rich cheese, which again isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I would like to see more lighter notes in there. And again, that bitterness from the rind, I find a little bit challenging. Again, it's not overly offensive. I just find it doesn't balance with the cheese very well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I keep going back to.
Then.
Yeah, so I keep going. I've gone back to it a couple of times. There's another cheese we had earlier on in the presentation, which again was very savoury. It's quite savoury. It's not so bright. It doesn't have that delivery. So I'm going to hit it on a 7.
Yeah, I'm happy with a 7.
Yeah,
thank you, chaps. And B, you're just being honest. Moving on to F71203, please.
1202.
Ooh,
Hello.
Oh yeah. There she is.
And look at the bottom where it's been last placed.
Beautiful.
Cuts nicely.
Beautifully looking cheese.
Small halo.
You should score this straight away. The look of it, if you like, it's a 10 on look for me. Jonathan,
stuck it up my nose.
Yeah, it?
I can't knock it down. I think when you compare it to the other similar ash goats that we had before, they actually look very different. But again, that's not a bad thing. This has got maybe a bit more coverage on the ash, and it's got a little bit more definition on the end here with the rind. But I still think it's a beautiful looking cheese.
I love the fact that it's not cylindrical. I love the fact that it gets it's thicker on one end and not as thick on the other end.
Yeah, and it's got that flatness on the bottom of it, which you'd expect. I think it's a lovely looking cheese, so I'm happy with a 10.
Reminds me of an elephant's trunk.
It does, actually. I know what you mean. Yeah. Okay.
Cutting into it, fresh white, lovely halo, gorgeous halo there. Diving straight in.
It smells lovely.
What does lovely mean?
Sorry. So the smell you're getting again, it's got similarities. So you get that lacticness, you get the sort of slightly grassy notes, but I also feel like you're getting a bit of savory, just a little bit of light, sort of rich savoriness, which is quite nice. And if it tastes the way it smells, it should give it a bit of balance, which I quite like. What have we done, James?
Nothing. I'm looking at this person parking outside my shop.
Oh, very floral. Bit of bitterness. It's a little bit drier than the other log we had. You know, which isn't a bad thing. It's just not as smooth.
Okay, so I think the texture is great. I think there's nothing wrong with this texture. Its mouthfeel is delicious. The mouth, I can't say delicious. The mouthfeel is spot on as far as the coating's concerned.
Yeah.
I'm going to give that a 10.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with 10.
As far as the
do we need to do aroma, Cara?
Aroma.
We'll come back to that. You just
okay.
So the aroma, what do you want to go for that, Jonathan?
I'll be happy. I feel like we're scoring very highly today, but I'm struggling to see what I could mark it down on.
Yeah.
And I think a 10 for the
you've
aroma.
got some beautiful cheeses.
And that's it. Yeah. I think we've been fortunate, haven't we, James?
Blessed are the cheesemongers.
Well, that's it. I think, yeah, the aromas, it's got everything you'd expect and everything you'd want from this style of cheese, I think. And like I say, that little bit of savory you get on the nose actually is really nice. Flavor-wise, I'm struggling a bit with the bitterness.
I'm going to have to cleanse myself with a Miller's.
Yummy, beautiful Miller's buttermilk.
Sponsored by Miller's biscuit. Very good.
I'm finding that bitterness quite intense. And although I'm getting some nice notes of the lactic elements and like a little bit of creaminess, the bitterness is what's sitting with me quite a lot. And I know you'll get bitterness with a sort of lactic cheese. It's to be expected, but I feel like it's quite intense.
Go back in and give it another taste. Make sure your palate's cleansed.
I've been drinking plenty of water, don't you worry. No, it's the initial flavour is lovely. I feel like you get lightness, you get brightness, you get that sort of lactic element, a little bit of savoury in there. But I'm still left with a little bit of bitterness. The floral element to it is amazing. I feel like I can taste that sort of.
See, I feel the
almost
bitterness.
If it's grazing on some level of maybe meadow land, you get that floral element to it. But there's just a little bit of bitterness that's sitting with me at the end.
I believe that the bitterness is derived from the rind, the ash, and the salt. And I believe for me, in this style of cheese, as a Saint-Maur style cheese from the Loire Valley, they do deliver that kind of bitter, peppery, rich note on the outside. And I think it will even become more pronounced as it ages, which again is very much part of the cheese with that kind of citrus element running through the heart of it. So I'm really happy with this cheese, to be fair. I think it's a 9.5. I think if we're gonna go lower than the other log that we tried, which was a quadruple 10, I think it goes down to a 9.5.
Being honest, I don't think I'd go to a 9.5 for me personally, because I just feel like the border of that peppery bitterness is a bit over for me. Personally, I get what you mean about this style of cheese, but if I compared that to the other ash log we had, I would say there's quite a significant difference in that bitterness.
9.5.
I'd say for me it's more than a 0.5. So I'd happily sit on a 9 if you're happy with that, James.
No, I'm not. I want 9.5.
Well, I would have gone lower than 9.
We're going to go for 9.25 then, guys.
Okay.
And we're going to move on to our final cheese of this class.
We never disagree, Jonathan.
We only disagree when I'm right and you're wrong. And that doesn't happen very often, but...
Okay, chaps. So this is F71204.
It's
Looks
a
rather
naked
beautiful.
cheese. It's a naked cheese.
No.
So
I
I'd
would say
imagine by looking at it,
shape-wise, it has a lot of similarities to the previous log we had, the ash one we've just had.
I was just about to say it's probably the same without the ash.
Because if you look at, like you said before, James, that sort of narrow at one end, wider at another end, you get more, almost a little bit more definition on the wrinkling at the end on that bit as well.
It's another elephant nose.
It is. I would say this is even more. Take away the color. This is even more elephant-y, if that's even a word.
Lovely nose.
Smells lovely.
What does lovely mean?
Sorry, I don't get so on the rind. When you smell the outside, I don't get a huge amount. I get a little bit of freshness and a little bit of farminess, but not too strong. But then when you smell the paste in the middle, it's lovely. You've got, sorry, I've got to stop saying lovely. It's got lots of notes, it's got that sort of farminess to it, milkiness, and again a little bit of savouriness, which we found with the previous one, which again I quite like having that little bit of savouriness to it.
Hello, this is nice. Yeah, so as Jonathan said on the nose, floral, goatee, lactic, grassy even.
Oh wow.
Bright on the palate. Texture's perfect for me. Very bright flavors running through. Great acidity. I love the kind of peppery note at the end, which is led by the rind.
But not as strong. That pepperiness isn't as strong as the previous one.
No, it's almost ascorbic in its acidity as well. It's got a lovely breakdown on the rind as well. It's not wet. It's quite dry on the actual touch.
The salt is more pronounced, which I like, and whether or not that salt is balancing the bitterness for me.
The salt is needed for this cheese. Definitely.
Are you saying the salinity is very balanced?
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, so the salt, you're getting more salt in this than that previous one. And actually, for me, I think that's probably what's balancing the bitterness. Whereas maybe the previous one, the salt wasn't as high. So I was getting a lot more bitterness. Whereas this one, you get that more saltiness. And I think the balance is there for me.
Yeah, this is a good cheese.
Really good. And I like, actually, I would say potentially, what do you think, James? Maybe a bit younger than the previous one?
Definitely. Not by a lot.
The flavors are fresher. There's a little bit more of that sort of milkiness to it. But really well balanced. And again, good length to it. I love cheese that leave you with a really lovely, long-lasting flavor. And I think this is one of them. Taking a picture of me, James?
I am. The cheese, actually, to be fair.
Oh, right, okay, fine.
Okay, chaps, do we want to start scoring it on appearance?
Again, I think it's got to be a 10. I like the fact that it's, slightly different looking, and from a point of view of, one end smaller than the other. I love that. I think it just shows you that it's handmade. So yeah, 10 from us. You said 10, didn't you, James?
I did 10. Next one, 10.
Aroma?
10.
I'm gonna be really annoying. I feel like on the rind, I'd like a little bit more from it, a little bit more aroma from the rind. For me personally,
but you're not going to get as much as the last one, given what this is.
No, I understand that.
Given what this is, you're going to get lactic, you're going to get fresh, you're going to get bright, which all of that you get. But you stick ash on top of it, which is more alkaline. You're going to encourage the geo to go a bit more mental.
But from a point of view, I'm not trying to compare it to the previous one. My point on the smell is, I don't get hardly anything at all on the outside, but the inside I think smells phenomenal. So I just don't think I could give it as high a score as the ones we've given 10 to already. You are?
I don't think you can take it away from it, because the outside of the cheese is going to be slightly more subdued as a result of not having that ash on the outside.
No, but James, I'm not comparing it to the ash. I'm not saying it's got to be the same as ash, because I understand that. What I'm saying is I feel like I would like to smell a bit more about the cheese I know it's younger and I know it's not ash, but I feel like I would expect and like to smell a little bit more on the rind. I'm not talking about taking off loads of marks. I just feel like it would.
All I'm saying about that, Jonathan, is I think given the fact that it's young, and given the fact there's no ash on the outside of it, you wouldn't expect any more smell from that cheese. When you cut into it, then you're receiving that. Then you're receiving that.
The ash,
sorry,
whether it's ash or not isn't relevant for me. What I'm saying is, for that style of cheese, I would just like to smell a little bit more depth in the aroma. Not loads, but I feel like I don't feel like I could give it a 10 when I compare it to other cheeses that we've given a 10 to. And I don't mean comparing the actual cheeses, but am I getting as much from this as I have from the cheese when I've got when we've given it a 10? For me personally, I'm not. So I'm happy to take it down a little bit. I don't want to upset you, James, because you look angry at me.
You want to go for 9.75 then, guys? It's not quite a 10.
No, that's fine. I don't feel like it's got as much about it aroma-wise as any of the cheese we've given a 10 to from an aroma point of view. So I couldn't knowingly give it that because I don't think it's doing what it should do.
Okay, 9.75 it is.
Okay.
Oh, look, he's thrown his toys at the pram.
Not yet. Texture?
Texture's a 10 all day long for me. I think it.
Definitely. It's lovely.
Oh, he's not talking now.
No, it's really nice. It's really nice. Thank you. Thanks, Jonathan.
And flavour, guys.
Again, I can't think of what anything more I'd want from it.
10.
I think it's got to be a 10, yeah.
Okay, chaps.
We've now concluded.
We have concluded our cheeses. I just want to ask you guys a quick question because I
do still love him. Yes, Cara, I do still love him, despite the fact he thinks I don't.
We have one cheese with a perfect score.
Yep.
And then we have the cheese that you have just judged, which is 0.25 behind it.
Yeah.
Do you want to put them both through, or do you want to stick with that perfect one?
So this was my argument, was the fact that I don't think that is as good as the one we gave 42. And that was the point for me, was there's not, I know they're different cheeses, obviously, but I wasn't as blown away with that as I was when we gave 42. So for me, I'm happy if James wants to send both through, I'm happy to go with that. But I want to make my position clear on the fact that that was why I marked it downwards, because I just didn't think it was as good as the 40.
James?
I think, I love his smile. I am on the fence with both of the cheeses. I think they're both incredibly beautifully made cheeses. I would like to suggest that both cheeses go into the final, just so that the other jury can finally decide which one they think gets to partay.
Exactly what this process is about, guys. It's about getting as many people to taste and champion these cheeses.
Definitely.
So, with your permission, I will say we're going to send them both through. Perfect. Just because it was so close on that deadline. So the two cheeses that we are sending through for the F7 Goat soft cheese class are F71138.
Yep. And 1204.
And F71204. Brilliant. We'd like to thank Butler's Farmhouse Cheeses for our aprons this year and our very yummy Miller's crackers. Thank you, Miller's, who've become our cracker partner this year. James and Crafty, what can I say? It's been a ridiculously good session.
I thought you were going to say hard work, but I'll take good.
I'm never going to say that. I'm never going to say that. Thank you so much for all your hard work on that. And just the explanations have been phenomenal today. Those two cheeses will go through to the category final on Tuesday, the 10th of June. And our grand final will follow on Wednesday, the 11th, revealing the very best of British cheese, along with the awards recognising the talented and passionate people of our cheese industry. The day will culminate with the awards of our Supreme Champion 2025. So thank you again, guys.
Thank
It was
you.
our pleasure, James.
Cara, thank you so much. You're just a beautiful lady, and we love you very much.
It's been an absolute treat.
Brilliant. See you shortly.
Bye.